This is a follow-up to the segment that I did on Wednesday, talking about the Austin Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony case. Have either of you looked into that?
Yeah.
What's going on in America right now?
I watched the segment. It was a good segment.
Oh, fantastic. Well, just to very quickly go over some of the details if you want the full story, watch that segment. I was quite happy with it. But basically, Austin Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony never met each other before, going to different schools. The schools were doing a joint track meet or something. Carmelo Anthony, a young black kid, 17 years old, comes to sit under the tent of the opposing school. Austin Metcalf, 17-year-old white kid, goes to tell him to go under his own school's tent. Carmelo Anthony basically provokes him into an altercation, pulls a knife on him and stabs him once in the heart, runs off, leaving him to die in his twin brother Hunter Metcalf's arms. Horrible, tragic situation. Some were trying to argue that this was self-defense. Some were making up stories that Austin Metcalf was a bully who had priors with this guy, and then it came out that they'd never met each other before. And the witness reports that you can read in the police report, which has been released online due to a Freedom of Information request, that shows you the witness reports are saying that, yeah, he just came over, he sat there, he was asked to leave, and then provoked the situation. It seemed that given that he was carrying a knife and provoked the situation, that he was either doing something wrong in the first place by going under the tent. This is pure speculation, but some are speculating that he may have been going there to maybe try and scope out to see if he could steal anything from people's backpacks.
That's what I think probably happens.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Or he just went over there to try and provoke a confrontation in the first place. Either way, open and shut self-defense case. Obviously, there's going to be complications when it goes to trial because we know how people in the juries behave. We have the experience of the OJ trial. We have the experience of the Derek Chauvin trial, where activists will try to get into the juries so that they can influence the case for the purpose of racial grievance mongering. But taken on its own, analysing the facts of it, clearly this was not self-defense. Clearly this was a murder.
There was no excuse for it. Even if there was a confrontation between some school kids, you know, I went to school, there were confrontations in school, I never stabbed anyone. In fact, most of the time people didn't really actually want to hurt each other. You might be annoyed at someone.
It's a shoving match at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. There was many an incident in my school where all of the kids would gather around chanting, fight, fight, fight. And you'd look and it was two guys who didn't know how to fight, violently hugging one another and giving each other pats on the back. That's all it ever ended up being.
Forced into the situation by the hundreds of people around them screaming fight.
Yeah.
What we wanted is sort of gladiatorial combat, really.
Well, apparently they could have got gladiatorial combat with these kinds of students. But there's been development since then, which is that, as we kind of got a hint of, the broader community who have rallied around Carmelo Anthony and his family have shown themselves as being completely tribal and utterly shameless, and they're trying to turn him into some kind of PR win civil rights icon. One of the first things that they've done now is release POV footage recorded on somebody's Ray-Ban Meta glasses of...
People actually wear those?
Yes. Of Carmelo Anthony. I'll just play this, you don't need to hear the audio. Of him with his handlers walking out after he was released on bail. If you want the story regarding the bail, go to the segment I did on Wednesday.
I like how he murders a white person and black people treat him like he's a celebrity now.
Yeah.
Is that how much contempt they've got for white people in America that they've donated
America,
all that money? Yeah.
There's a significant enough portion of them who are happy and eager to rally around this guy as a cause, as a signifier of their oppression. All he did was murder someone.
Yeah.
All he did was murder someone for no reason.
I can't believe he's out on bail.
Well, again, there were some patterns I noticed in the judge who lowered his bail and all of the people that were supporting him, but I have a non-functioning frontal cortex, so I can't notice patterns, sadly. There was also developments of, if it was my family member who had clearly murdered somebody, I would maybe, as a family member, you'd want to do something, but I wouldn't just, without any reservations, support them and treat them as if they'd done a good thing. Anthony's family, on the other hand, here's him with his grandmother, posting my grandbaby. Yeah, very young grandmother.
She's got less wrinkles than I do, blimey.
Yeah, but she's posting my grandbaby with this lovely picture of her and him together. Now, again, you love your family unconditionally, but you do not support everything that they do unconditionally, especially if they've murdered somebody. The Anthony family, on the other side,
the normal thing to do, at least in Britain, is if someone murders someone else unprovoked in your family, you disown them. I mean, I don't think there's...
You've brought shame upon the family. I can't believe you've done this. Our name is going to live in infamy forever because of you, etc., etc. There are ways of treating this situation, but this is how the Anthony family are treating the situation. They're going along with this. They're treating him like he didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing wrong. It's only because of Whitey being an oppressor that he's even considered to have done anything wrong, because really, Austin Metcalf, from this perspective, was asking for it, which is what we'll see has been part of the reaction from a significant portion of the black community in America who've rallied around this. One of the most disgusting things was there was the footage that came out originally after this of Austin Metcalf's father saying, listen, I don't want this to be a racial thing. I don't want this to be politicized. I'm trying to keep the fort down. I've already forgiven him. And Anthony's handlers decided to run a press conference where they gave the opportunity for Anthony's parents to speak about the situation and kind of give a message to the broader community who are interested in this and paying attention to developments. Austin Metcalf's father decided to show up there, presumably because this is a situation he's obviously very interested in, right? He wants to see how things are developing. He wants to see what they have to say for themselves on their son's behalf. Well, he got kicked out. He got kicked out. Dominique Alexander, who is the main handler of this situation for the Carmelo Anthony family, got the authorities, got the police to escort him out.
I would have thought that if he was in a place where he didn't belong, that would mean they're justified to stab him in the heart, right?
No,
that's right.
He would be justified to stab them in the heart, and then we would all rally around him and say he didn't do anything wrong, it was self-defense. No, but he gets kicked out. So he preaches forgiveness. He preaches that this shouldn't be a politicized issue, that you should see the events as they develop and not rush to any major conclusions. They, on the other hand, get him kicked out and then go out of their way to say it was disrespectful for him to come here. This is Dominique Alexander.
Father of the murdered boy.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, this was Dominique Alexander. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's wearing a full suit here. I've seen the pictures. He's wearing trainers with this suit. In fact, you can see here. Look, there he is. He's got his full suit on and presumably his Air Jordans as well, because stereotypes they don't miss sometimes, do they? But here's what he had to say. I apologize for putting you through listening to this man, because it does sound like he has a mental handicap, but this is just the way that some people in America speak.
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later, is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak louder than words. Okay? What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate, yet bigotry, and yet racism. We have conservative operatives that have been posting non-stop about this case.
Now, reminder that this guy is a black racial grievance grifter and activist who has organized many protests in Dallas, Texas against evil racist police brutality, and one of those in 2016 actually descended into activists on his side shooting 5 police officers. And now he's the one preaching that this shouldn't be racialized, that this shouldn't be politicized, that it's disrespectful of the father of the murder victim to show up to this press conference, while also barely being able to speak English. I mean, remember on Wednesday, as one of the clips that I played showed that instead of claiming self-defense, he was claiming self-defense, which didn't seem to be a slip-up because he said it numerous times in that exact way. But this is the kind of guy they're getting to represent. And reminder of who this scumbag is that he has been arrested countless times. There's almost like a dozen mugshots of him over the years where you can track his aging and his progress and the different styles he's tried out. He shook a 2-year-old in 2009 until the child suffered a brain hemorrhage and until his retinas detached. Or he suffered retinal hemorrhages.
This guy.
Yeah.
Did he go to prison for this?
He spent 8 days in jail.
8 days.
8 days in jail. Here's the judge who made that decision. Now, it's a shame again that I'm retarded and can't recognise patterns right now, or else I might be coming to some pretty worrying conclusions. There's more from this press conference as well, which is that Sarah Fields, who I referred to on Wednesday, had made a number of posts talking about this guy's background. She was the one who put in the Freedom of Information request to get the police arrest report, which had some of the eyewitness statements that were taken down. She also made some allegations that his organization, I think Next Generation Action Network, keep changing their name every few years whenever it's time to start filing tax reports to the IRS, which may be an allegation that they might be trying to avoid having to pay any tax. He decided to target her and complain about her posting freely available information from the internet about him.
Sarah Fields. Never heard of this woman. This is the kind of despicable things that led to the father being here. Political operatives motivating this family with hate.
Information, really.
Carmelo Anthony posted on something.
Remember,
That
he's the
shows-
victim here.
Posted here. These are the type of lies that are threatening this family. Posting the family's picture. These are the type of lies. She's getting millions of views on this. Sarah. She's even came after me. She's even said all of those things. And now that the public knows exactly what is going on.
Reminder that this is freely available, factual information that you can find easily through a Google search of this guy's name with the keyword arrest next to it. Multiple articles over the past 15 years will be available for you to read out.
So he's being held to account and doesn't like it, and that is somehow a problem that is political and racially motivated, even though it's entirely obvious that all of the people on his side of things are just motivated by hating white people
And
wanting
financial gain that they can get from it.
It's my sort of old rule of thumb that most of politics is just resource extraction. It's so very obvious when it's this.
Yeah, and it makes sense as to why he would try and play this game, because he's been winning this game for most of his adult life, given that he has done repeated heinous things. As far as I'm concerned, if you have been so violent towards a 2-year-old that you've caused a brain and retina hemorrhage to that 2-year-old, you shouldn't ever see daylight again, as far as I'm concerned. He got 8 days in jail for it. So he has spent his entire life, adult life and career, doing terrible, awful things, criminal behavior, his entire life, and being rewarded for it, getting off with it, being allowed to walk free. So despite the fact that he's protesting against a racist system of oppression that is filled with injustices, his experience of the system has always been that it lets him get away with it. So why wouldn't he? No, sorry, Samson, there is more to this clip that I just want to play as well. So he's talking about lies. He's talking about how people are lying about him. He decides to bring Kyle Rittenhouse and his case into this. Do we expect that he's going to represent the Kyle Rittenhouse case fairly or honestly?
No.
No. Let's hear.
I asked, because these racist bigots try to prevent us from standing up for our baby, our boy, he should be afforded the same rights that Kyle Rittenhouse had, Daniel Pena, and all of the people who have claimed whatever their defense was. He should be afforded the same right. Nobody in the public media has one video camera, but we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 shooting 3 people in the back.
It wasn't.
We got that.
The
And he raised
AK-47,
more
was
than
it?
$2 million publicly.
In the back?
Nobody
In the
said
back.
anything. So since they tried to come for us, I call for the community's overwhelming support for this fund. The disinformation that was put out
Such
was literally
victims.
deliberate to
Boo-hoo.
Why
Oh.
did he even that?
this
That is a good question. I really do think with people like this, they really just think if you talk slowly and softly and wear a suit, that somehow makes you smart. It's like the magic soil. They think that people who are smart that wear suits are only smart because they're wearing the suit.
Yeah.
And they'll get the same effect. Like it's a magic buff you get from armor in an RPG or something. But no, you still sound like a retard, Dominique. And again, so he's going on about how people are lying about him, people are lying about the circumstances of the case, while also telling us that Kyle Rittenhouse was running around with an AK-47. It wasn't an AK-47.
It was a form of assault rifle, wasn't it? But it's
Yeah.
I
not
think
an
it was
AK.
an AR.
I think it was an AR-15 because loads of the leftists were complaining about it. Like, see, he's killed people with an AR-15.
That's why we need to ban AR-15s. That was the argument that they were going for.
Saved his life.
So he doesn't know even one of the most basic controversies around Kyle Rittenhouse. Also saying we have the video footage of him shooting people in the back. Actually, it's video footage of him shooting people in the front as they're trying to take the gun off of him, assault him, beat him with a skateboard, and shoot him in the face with a pistol. So that's the kind of honesty that we can expect from these people. Also, again, he mentions the Rittenhouse crowdfunding situation. Well, Rittenhouse had multiple fundraisers taken down by organizations like GoFundMe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, again, dishonesty. People were actively trying, well, organizations, institutions were actively trying to prevent Kyle Rittenhouse from being able to fund his own defense. Whereas these guys already lived in a massive $900,000 house, have recently bought a new car, and it's in a gated community. They were able to raise over 400 grand for their defense expenses, which a lot of people at first thought, well, this must be the bail fund, right? This has to be the bail fund. No, it's to help them survive. It's to help them survive because they're going to have to take some time off for all of this because they need to rally around their poor little innocent boy who didn't do nothing. And when we talk about this fund, I already highlighted some of the comments that were left on it the other day, but Keith Woods actually got a few up as himself here, which are quite telling. So we have these ones like Amaka. The community supports you. I know you're scared, but believe in yourself and your inner strength. The ancestors got you, young man. That's one of the least egregious. Anonymous Giver says, when one of these white people posts something dumb, I always look at the amount of likes that it gets because I love seeing the amount of them just lurking with hateful eyes as we lift up Carmelo and his family. So they're lifting up the murderer. Interesting behavior. They hate to see us unified. No, it's just very interesting to see what you're unifying around. To think that we would sit quietly and let y'all enjoy a modern day lynching is wild. That's what it is when you arrest somebody for murdering someone. Is lynching. Okay.
Not in the real world, are they? They're
no.
not in the real world.
The West Africa brothers say, we your brothers in Liberia, West Africa, pray for your freedom in that bondage land, adding up each day from the motherland. Small, as we say, from $85 before brother, we finally reach $100. Thank Yah blessing. Interesting behavior.
Illegible.
I don't even know what. Halfway through, I forgot. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, Romery Griffiths, let's run it up like they ran it up for their dear George Zimmerman. Again, that was clear, open and shut self-defense for George Zimmerman because he was being assaulted by Trayvon Martin when he opened fired on him. But they think this is the exact same situation. An anonymous giver, again, hang in there, family.
Well, they don't
Fascinating behaviour.
They don't see the nuance of the situation. They don't see aggressors and defense. They just see our guy versus their guy. That's all that really matters to them.
Yeah, not only do they protect him, they're celebrating him. They're praising him because they see this as an attack against white supremacy.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. Sadly, it seems that this next link was taken down. This was the last thing I was going to end on, which was there was a website called justiceforkamaloanthony.org that some were attributing to the parents, but it was saying that it was just by Kamalo Justice. and it was selling actual merchandise, a T-shirt for Free Carmelo.
I wouldn't
interesting.
be surprised if this isn't a similar thing to Black Lives Matter. You know how many of the people raising money for Black Lives Matter secretly just had a fund?
You mean buy large mansions?
Yes.
Or
Not only
Burnley
did
murder.
Not only did the official organisation spend the money on themselves, but also many of the people raising money just didn't give it to the organisation and took it. There was that girl in Bristol, wasn't there, that spent like £20,000 just on Ubers, which I don't know where she's going. I don't know how you even do that.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Presumably to McDonald's and back.
I think
I'd say
the thing is with this whole thing, it stinks of the George Floyd, where I don't think, they weren't bothered about the situation with George Floyd. It was, right, the next black man that gets killed by a cop, we're rioting. And this is the same thing, right? The next case we got where we can defend someone, we're all getting behind him, no matter what. Because when everything came out about George Floyd, even now, when everybody knows the type of man he was, these people will never say a bad word about St. George.
Yeah.
They will not, and this just seems exactly the same sort of thing. They'll ignore all common sense and all the questioning. Why was he there in the first place?
It's purely tribal thinking.
Yeah, and where did he get the knife? Why, was it Amazon? Do we have more? Is it Amazon's fault again?
Don't tell Keir Starmer that.
Yeah.
Well, it's in America, so I'm sure that I've got no issue necessarily with somebody just carrying a weapon for their own self-defense in America. Again, I'm not one of those, have you got a license for that types? But the question is, why bring it to the track meet for the school when you're a 17-year-old, especially when, as far as I'm aware, schools in America don't want their students bringing weapons into school. There are rules against that in these schools. And surely, given that he provoked the situation, it seems to show some kind of intent to cause major harm to somebody. So there are a lot of questions, and I think that's going to be a big problem for the defense. But again, the actual arguments don't really matter if they manage to get an activist on the jury, as has happened a number of times before in these kinds of politically motivated trials. So that's just a little update, and so far it's completely shameless. The family have been able to get a nice 400 plus grand out of it, and I don't see any justice right now.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.